Now, welcome to our practice of yoga. We will require, perhaps, if you have a blanket today, and maybe also 2 blocks. Now, the blocks are very easily replaced by some sturdy cushions or else. The blanket's hard to replace in that sense. If you do have a blanket at home, that's easily foldable and not too fluffy. So admitting that I had to find such a yoga blanket, the rest is very fluffy. So I will show you now how to deal with this blanket. Now mine's already folded a few times. I would ask you to fold yours similarly. So like a long line of blanket, then folding on the top bit like a little cushion, and then placing that down onto the mat lengthwise. We'll begin our practice, if it is suitable at all, in a reclined bound angle pose. So hence I'm taking the blocks here as well. Please be reminded that everything here is a suggestion. So I will align now my spine right over my blanket, and hopefully will land the head at that little cushion that I made. This is a very soft chest opener that we are preparing here. Depending on the thickness of the blankets, a bit less or more. You could snuggle your shoulder blades just gently to the blanket. And when you lie down like this, once you've got your upper body in a very comfortable yet lightly shoulder chest opening space, you could roll your knees out. And this is why I brought 2 blocks in. Especially with hip challenges, this posture can be quite draining. I would rather have you to relax into the opening on both sides, upper as well as lower body. So I've supported the knees as they fall out to the side, and you can control the height of this support. I've placed the blocks in an angle, but you could also bring them up a little bit further or flatten them out. And if your body is a living miracle of some sort, your knees might just pop to the floor there. You can relax your arms by the sides if that suits. And then perhaps attempting Kartari Mudra. I will walk up to the camera so in case you want to open your eyes to see. It is basically the last 2 fingers that we're folding in, the little finger as well as the ring finger, and then placing the thumbs on top. So we've got these little peace symbols there. You can then rest the backs of the hands down away from your body as you stay on your back in the posture if you wish. So it's 2 fingers standing out here. It's the index, the middle finger, last 2 fingers folded to the palm of the hand, and the thumb is lightly resting over the top. Once you've got your position, made all your choices that you might require, you can choose to close your eyes or steady your gaze toward the ceiling. If you are someone unsure about energies when we change the hand position, feel free to play with releasing and then holding the mudra again. So perhaps you notice this way that there is a potential difference. Try not to be disappointed or look for a particular outcome. It is really an exploration of what you can feel, trusting that these energies are working nevertheless. Let us take a deeper breath in now. And perhaps let a soft sigh escape the mouth. If this just felt really good, helped you to ground a bit, perhaps repeating twice more. And as you relax into the space, aim to keep your mind within the sensations that you are exploring. Be that physical, including the mudra in your hands. Be that the breath that is flowing. Be that the thoughts that are drifting, or bodily sensations in general through the openness of chest and hips. If the mind decides to wander away from this, you might encourage it back to a steady point to look at, choosing either of the mentioned. Our session here based on Kartari Mudra, perhaps a suggestion to deepen the connection to the principles of yoga. That's what this mudra might assist us with, as well as creating a sense of inner calm and a preparation for meditation. Practicing Kartari Mudra is an embrace of a yogic journey towards a more mindful and perhaps centered life. We will explore this centeredness and inward orientation, as well as creating a meditative practice today as we embrace not just the mudra, but our own practice. Beginning to deepen your breath now, as you feel the breath rising into the abdomen and letting the abdomen fall again when you're exhaling. Again, breathing into the abdomen and releasing on the out breath. Still breathing into your abdomen, but now also expanding the breath to the lower ribs. And as you breathe out, letting both fall again. We'll repeat, breathing into the belly, into the lower ribs, and letting that fall again on the out breath. Your pace of breathing might be different as you again breathe into your abdomen, the lower ribs, and then fill your lungs completely right up to collarbones. And let everything fall as you're breathing out. The out breath quite relaxed, yet doesn't take away from its length. And breathing in from your belly to your ribs, right up to the collarbones, feeling the lungs up and letting everything fall again. Repeating the full yogic in-breath for a few more rounds, leaving your out-breath quite effortless, yet perhaps lengthening. At any time, are you present with the movement of the breath, sensations you are exploring? You might choose to keep the breath a little bit deeper, but you might choose to release the breathing technique as well. If you have your knees still falling out to the sides, you might enjoy bringing them up. And while you bring the knees up, you could then widen your feet so they come to the edges of the mat, and perhaps letting the knees fall inwards from there, allowing a light inward rotation in the hip joint. Upper body can remain the same unless you're highly propped up. I would then ask to flatten yourself a little. If you would like to open the knees slightly and let them then sway from side to side, this might also be a lovely release, leading away from tension in this area and the lower back. And then as you center the knees, you might bring the feet to a more comfortable stance, whatever that means for you. You can release the mudra as well if you like, but taking it with you doesn't hurt at this point. As you simply open your lips slightly and begin to move your jaw. Noticing any sounds that you're creating this way. Perhaps finding different ways of moving the jaw. It's a likelihood that we all start yawning, perhaps doing so until you had a couple of yawns. Then softening the mouth and the jaw, and perhaps leaving the mouth ever so slightly open, just so the jaw is relaxed. You can leave your eyes closed or open them if you wish. As you leave your head steady, just rolling your eyes to one side, then centering them, rolling the eyes to the other side, and centering them again. And still leaving your head steady as you roll your eye gaze upward to the forehead, and then tracing the eyes downward. So you're looking towards the tip of your nose. Then center your eyes, and if they were open, close them for a moment. Let the eyes rest, perhaps have a sense of the eyeballs dropping back into their sockets. And then again, with eyes open or closed, starting a circle as you begin to roll your eyes to one side, circle upwards, over to the other, and then downwards. And you might repeat that circle, just rolling your eyes this way. The head is staying steady for another circle. Before you center the eyes, whenever that comes up for you, roll them over to the other side. And again, start tracing upwards, out to the other, and downwards. So we're reversing the circle. Have 2 eye circles in the other direction. Then center your eyes again. Let them rest as if they could drop into their own socket. You might like to then touch your hands together over your body and start to rub the palms of the hands vigorously together, creating heat, warmth between your hands. And when you breathe in, cup your whole face with your warm hands. And just allowing the warmth to soften your facial muscles. You could then gently massage or wash over your face. And perhaps even down the neck. You might rub across your ears, especially if you're feeling a little bit cold. Just unfolding the ears, rubbing all the way down to the earlobes. Perhaps the warm ears are just spreading out into the rest of the body. As you might come up into a seated position, and I will make a suggestion what that could look like. If you prefer, you could also roll over onto your side. But if you like, your knees are already bent, slide your hands flat onto the lower part of your bottom. Squeeze your elbows into your side. Let the feet slide away a little. Tuck the chin in, press down into forearms, then hands, and rising up into a seated posture. It's not so important, that seated posture, as I would ask you to come straight onto your hands and knees. I will remove the blanket for now. If you like this blanket underneath the knees, it might be a nice cushioning for you. As you come into a stance where the knees are hip distance apart, the hands are just loosely grounded for now. If you need anything to sit upon when we move the buttocks back to the heels, you can place a block or a couple of blocks right there, your choice. As you breathe in, just finding the length in the spine, perhaps experiencing the natural drop in the lower back, a bit of deliberate space in the upper back. As you breathe in, hold the spine in neutral. When you breathe out, round the back and reach your bottom towards the heels. Take a breath in as you stretch your arms forward. And then a breath out as you're uncurling to sit upon the heels or a block that you place there. Take the shoulders up to your ears as you breathe in, and shrug them all the way down as you breathe out, taking your arms behind you and perhaps interlacing the fingers behind your back. If it feels good this way, let the arms slide down the back, begin to rise from the chest, perhaps lifting the gaze, thinking about length in the neck, and the extra option to raise the arms away from your back, taking a deep full breath over front body. Next option there, as you breathe out, leaning the belly to the thighs, or basically returning to a child's pose, lowering the hips. If you like to lift your arms off the back, that is an option. Also an option is to come to the crown of the head, lifting the hips up and the arms. Rabbit pose or Sasangasana. Any stage in between is perfectly fine. Let's release the arms down and drop the hips back towards the heels, child's pose. Let's extend our arms back towards the front side of the mat. And inhale as you rise onto all fours. Placing your right hand palm facing up, right underneath your chest. And as you next exhale, sliding the arm through, maybe coming to rest here onto the shoulder, onto the ear. With the other hand, which is why I'll turn myself around, you could come up onto the fingertips, pressing down into the mat like a little cup with your fingers, lifting through that opposite shoulder as the gaze is turned to the side along the floor. Let's land the left hand again, pushing back into the mat as you return onto all fours. We'll change sides, so it's now the left hand right underneath your chest, palm facing upwards. And as you breathe out, sliding that arm through and coming to land again, perhaps on the ear, on the shoulder. You might like to experiment with the same here, forming your hand like a cup so the fingertips are down on the floor and pressing the fingertips into the mat. So to elevate the right shoulder further. Maintain your gaze though along the floor, keeping the neck rather safe. Let's spread the hand back out onto the mat and returning onto hands and knees. Finding your neutral spine, deliberately placing your hands wisely, and I usually have mine slightly forward, not really stacked under the shoulders. Letting the lower back curve arise and lifting gently between the shoulder blades. The gaze is down just in front of you. Breathing in. On your out breath, start to round your back and reach your bottom back towards the heels. Arms might actively reach forward as you breathe in. And with the out breath, beginning to uncurl the spine into a seated position. As you rise, lift the shoulders, breathing in. And shrug them down as you move your hands behind. If you choose to interlace the hands here, change the finger on top. Lengthening the arms, perhaps down the back, if not even away from it. Letting your chest rise, perhaps lifting your gaze. There's a squeeze between the shoulder blades at your back and a deep breath over the front body. With the out breath, start to fold forward. Belly towards your thighs. The head might tuck in a little. Options are the same. You can stay here or roll to the top of the head, perhaps lifting the arms away from the back. As you might hold here, upside down position, or in other words, sasangasana. Slowly releasing your buttocks back to the heels, child's pose. And extending the arms back towards the front. With the breath in, coming up onto hands and knees. If it's right for you, if not just extending one leg, tuck the toes under, lift the knees, find a stretch up towards a downward dog. Then take an inhale, bringing the knees back down, and we'll repeat that. Exhaling, either extending one leg or lifting back up, downward facing dog. Please don't mind, my left hand's always placed differently. And then releasing the knees back down to the mat, untucking the toes. You might remove any sitting support or blocks from your mat. We'll have one more down dog unless you prefer to step your feet directly to the front of the mat, perhaps lifting the knees and then taking a little walk with the feet forward between the hands and just folding down. Allow yourself here to be a little bit heavy, perhaps taking a hold of the opposite elbow. You might allow a little sway from side to side there. Keeping quite heavy across the feet. And then maybe changing the arm on top. And also changing the way you're swaying. If that's right for you, sway a little bit forwards and backwards. And then let your hands fall. Wait for an out breath and begin to uncurl the spine, rising into a standing position. Take the shoulders up with you as you breathe in and shrug them back down as you're breathing out. I suggest to continue standing at a short front edge of the mat. Maybe that is facing the screen. We'll practice a round of sun salutation, one on each side. So breath in as you lift your arms, maybe your gaze. Drawing the hands down the midline with your knees soft, folding forward back to your forward bend. With the in-breath, lengthening the spine forward. On the out-breath, stepping the right foot back. You can place the knee down if you like. Then the left foot kneeling or full plank. Exhaling to lower to the mat. Inhaling, lifting head and chest. Maybe hands to cobra position. Breath out to lower. Breath in, all fours. You might tuck the toes under while you reach back to the heels on the exhale. Inhaling, all fours. Out breath, perhaps a downward dog. This down dog, you might start paddling out on the spot. And then maybe using the paddling as little steps coming to the front of the mat. When you arrive, inhale, lengthen the spine forward, Ardha Uttanasana, and out as you fold to full Uttanasana. On the next exhale, uncurling your spine, vertebra by vertebra. Lifting the arms back up on the inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, and touching palms together as you fold right back forward, soft knees. For the inhale, half lift. On the exhale now, stepping the left foot back into a lunge. Choice, knee on the floor or off the mat. Stepping back with the right leg, finding again plank or kneeling plank. On an outpass, lowering to the floor. Tops of the feet into the mat, your choice of cobra, breathing in. And exhaling to release. Let's repeat here too. Inhale, all fours. Tucking toes under. Maybe stretch back or find your down dog directly. If you're with me, inhale to all fours. And the breath out, straight back into downward dog. And you might do the same here. Walking out this down dog. Walking your feet all the way forward between the hands. And a breath in to lengthen, half lift. And out breath to fold. With your knees soft, uncurl on the next exhalation. Perhaps reach the arms back up as you breathe in. And then let the arms come along the sides of the body as you breathe out. And just stand. Find a steady gazing point or even close your eyes. If you enjoyed the mudra, this is the time to fold the last two fingers in, rest the thumb on top. And perhaps integrating that idea of inward focus, meditative practice. As you open your eyes again, releasing the mudra. A breath in to lift the right heel or knee and arms. Bringing hands to the heart and stepping the foot far down the mat, landing in a lunge position. As you sink a little bit into the lunge, let's hook up our thumbs. If you find the arm extension is too strong, you can come back to the prayer position in front of your chest. Extending through the back leg. And as you lean a little bit forward in the spine, you're pulling on the thumbs so your fingers are spreading out. Reining the right hip lightly back in, feeling more balanced, hopefully, over the legs. Your extra option now is to keep that light pull on the thumbs and extend the arms forward for a full arrowhead posture. There's nothing here to do, but if your arms are better off at heart center, bring them back here. You can still use that pull on the thumbs, nourishing your lungs. Option from arrowhead lunge is to lunge forward and extend that now into a warrior three. If you do lift your back foot, you might want to flex it so the toes are pointing to the ground. Your arms might still reach forward or come back to the heart space, your choice. See if you can find the balance there in the pelvis and in the posture. Then land the foot, reach the arms up as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, releasing the arms back as you find to your mountain pose once again. Take a couple of deeper breaths. Think about breaths moving again from the belly to ribs and collarbones. With your eyes open and steady, the in-breaths to lift the left heel or knee and arms. Bringing the hands down at heart center while you step the foot all the way down the mat. Soften a little bit into that leg and lift up through the spine. Your choices here will be similar, so you might hook up your thumbs, but if you do it one way, swap the thumb on top. Start pulling a little bit on the thumbs so the fingers are spreading out. As you begin to extend into the back leg, leaning lightly forward. Drawing now the other hip a little bit back, so you're finding more balance stands across both of your feet. You might then choose to extend your arms, and they could be as high as around your ears if that's workable. But you could also keep the hands in front of the heart and still pull on your thumbs lightly. Arrowhead stance. Your next option, to lunge forward. Maybe even raising the back foot off the floor. Now, if you do, again, please flex the foot so the toes are pointing down. Your gaze might be down. The spine might be long. And your body could look a bit like an extended T shape. Let's land again. Stretch the arms up on a breath in and return to the mountain pose, breathing out. Let's take once more time to integrate movements we've practiced so far. And with the observation that you might have done at the beginning of our practice, you could be well aware of the changes within body, breath, and mind. Taking a breath in now to raise the arms back up. And a breath out as you release the arms again. We'll do that one more time, breathing in, lifting arms back up. Breathing out as you circle the arms down. Let's now lift the shoulders, breathing in, shrugging down, and perhaps an interlace behind the back. Lengthening the arms down as you expose your heart, maybe lifting your gaze. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, now lower the upper body, stepping the right foot back and also lowering the back heel to the mat. Finding a warrior two stance here where the back heel is a bit further out, aligning the front knee over the ankle joint. And while you breathe in, you might lift your heart again and perhaps the arms come away from the back. And with the out breath then folding towards the inside of the knee for a humble warrior. The arms might be lifting away from the back or can rest there if your shoulders prefer. Keep a steady groundedness through both of the feet, although the weight sits forward here in the feet. Let's release the arms. Let both hands come down to the inside of the front foot. And we'll unfold like we do oftentimes in a triangle, but keeping the front knee bent here for side angle posture. As you take the breath in, rise away from the ground and expand the left arm. And perhaps some of you prefer to rest the forearm onto the thigh. So we're in the open version, opening up away from the knee and starting to reach up towards the ceiling or the sky. Finding your steady gazing point down towards the toes or upwards. Parsvakonasana, side ankle posture. As you swing your arm back and down, bend the back knee. Now I will only use a block here for my support underneath the hand. As you lift the back heel, let the hips align. If you find a lunge is better for you, you can stay here, or you could even bring the knee to the floor. Very wise decision. You could also ground the back foot. That would be a hip distance stance, and the heel would be out even further. You might keep your right hand down and begin to twist the body, as you might roll the left shoulder back, starting now to turn towards the knee, perhaps only extending your arm upward. So important that your stance is matching your movement, so the hips aren't jarred into any awkward position. A simple twist, if the heel grounded behind you doesn't feel right, lift the heel off the floor instead. Let us release. Releasing the hand down, releasing the foot forward, and coming to a standing forward bend. An inhale here for a half lift. And our best to fold once again. Uncurling through the spine as you're breathing out to rise, to stand. Lift the shoulders up as you breathe in and shrug them down. And while you bring your hands behind your back, changing the interlace here. You might lengthen your arms down the back. Start to lift from your heart and maybe lift your gaze, taking a deeper breath. As you release that on the out breath, leaning a little bit forward and stepping the left foot down the mat. Nice and wide stands, and again the heel is just a tad bit further out than the rest. Front knee might align over the ankle. As you take a deep breath to lift your heart, again the arms might move away from your back. And on the out breath we enter humble warrior, leaning towards the inside of the front knee. Perhaps the arms are lifting, perhaps they're resting. As you ground through both of your feet, and perhaps paying more attention to back foot that feels like it's bearing less weight. Maintaining your stance, but releasing your hands to the inside of your front foot. Again, please keep this knee bent. As you take a breath in, your arm might lift, or the hand might come to the waist. You might come away from the floor, even with the other hand, or rest the forearm to your thigh. Trying to keep the top or left shoulder open. Your gazing point could be downwards to your big toe, or you might roll your gaze deliberately up and have a little chin tuck here. Do you still feel supported in your stance? Let's take another breath. And as you breathe out, swing your arm back. While you bend the back knee, start to raise the heel away from the mat. Again, I will place my hand on a block for support. Feel free to do the same. You can keep the back heel lifted as is. Your hips would be in a good position there. You could also choose to bring the knee down perfectly fine, or you could ground your back foot, but make sure that it's hip distance and the heel is much further out. You could then start to turn towards the knee and perhaps take a breath even to raise the right arm. Paying attention here to placement of the hips as you rein your hips in to support each other. If the back heel grounded isn't yours, you can lift the heel at any time or even ground your knee. Let's pause there and take another deep breath. Then let your arm swing down and stepping the feet again towards the front end of the mat, folding forward. Taking an inhale for a half lift. And an out breath now as we're stepping both knees down onto the ground. You can take your blocks and place them out by the side of the mat. As you spread your hands out, You might step your knees a little bit further back and find kneeling plank. Some of you might prefer tucked under toes and full plank kumbhakasana. Inhale here. And a breath out to lower down onto the mat. Let the forehead rest down. You can choose to leave the hands just as they are for a cobra variation. You could also choose to leave the feet grounded. While you breathe in, there's a cobra rising. Perhaps the legs are lifting. Perhaps the hands are lifting as you float. See if that feels right in your back. Perhaps carefully bending both knees. And then let's release all the way down to the mat, landing your forehead down. Taking a breath in as you rise again onto hands and knees, and then sitting towards your heels, curling into child's pose. Returning, if you haven't kept it flowing, to your full yogi breath. Belly ribs up to collarbones and relaxed out breaths. But nice and long to squeeze the air out. And when you're next exhaling, beginning to uncurl the spine into a seated position. Legs coming out in front now. And I will grab my blanket while I have it and place that as a sitting support now on the mat. Opening the legs out wide. If you did bring in 2 blocks, this might be a very nice time to use them. You could place them just underneath the knees. Placing your hands to the inside of the legs, flexing the feet. Legs either straight or knees bend, your choice, and encouraging the backs of the hands into your legs while you're holding your legs slightly against your hands. And hopefully that makes you sit up nice and tall in a fairly relaxed way. When you start exhaling, and if that is okay for you, begin with a sway and start gently massaging the inside of the legs. And while you're swaying, the body might start to move forward. You might potentially find a place where you would like to stay. You could keep a light pressure into the legs, and with that, leave the legs lightly pressuring into arms or hands. You might find that that increases the lengthening or stretch on the inside of your legs to keep them active. But again, this might be a nice thing to play with in a more explorative way. Releasing that pressure and applying it again. Taking 2 more particularly long exhalations. You come out then as you came in, just swaying a bit from side to side, rising to a seated position, bringing your legs back into the center. Now, if you have a comfortable seated position that works best for you, this might be this posture here. Perhaps it is an easy pose. Perhaps it is a Japanese seat towards the heels. So do support yourself in that seated position. We'll use it for a pranayama or breathing practice before we have a few more movements on our backs. If you found Kartari Mudra to be useful, fold the last two fingers in and rest your thumb on top, placing the backs of the hands down onto your thighs or knees. You might choose to close your eyes. The breathing technique we're using today is Brahmari, or the bee breath, as I find that the vibrations of this breathing technique, the humming sound we're creating, are drawing the focus very much inside. So don't worry about the amounts of repetitions, just simply keep going. I will hopefully loud and clearly tell you when to pause. We will begin together, but then please keep the humming rolling as we inhale now. Mm. 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 Two more. Mm. Mm. Pausing, watching the vibrations to resonate. Maybe your fingers feel like extended tuning forks. As you could choose to relax your hands and find a way onto your back with little disturbance of the body, so keeping it a bit quiet. Please have everything that you then need for relaxation near you. And coming to lie down on the backs with the knees lightly bent, your arms just along the side of the body. Flexing the right foot as you breathe in, sliding this leg with a lot of inner stability out long on the mat. Pointing the toes, and as you breathe out, bring it back, holding your stability, but then hugging the right knee towards the chest. Landing your arms as you flex the foot, take a breath in to ever so slowly, controlling the torso with very little to no movement. Extend the leg, then point the foot and keep the stability as you breathe out to bring the knee back up for a hug to the chest. Let's do that again. Flexing the foot, always stabilizing your torso. Arms might exist as you extend your leg out slowly, just above or onto the mat, pointing the toes as you bring your leg back. And then the body starts moving for the hug in. Let's do that just a couple more times on the right side. Just extending and flexing on the in-breath, pointing, and then bringing the leg back in. With the last hug, then placing the right foot back down, arms can return by the sides, flexing your left foot. As you breathe in, sliding the leg out, perhaps on the mat, pointing the foot, and as you breathe out, aim for stability in the torso. As the knee comes in, use your hands to give it a good squeeze. Flex the foot, arms support stability as you extend the leg on your inhalation, pointing the foot and keeping the stability as much as is possible before you hug the knee to the chest. We've got 3 more rounds to go. I will leave you to that while I keep demonstrating if you're losing track, but moving with your own breathing. When you come to the last round, give the knee another hug when you're ready. And then landing your left foot back onto the ground. Let your arms relax for a moment. Upper body be rather soft. Arms might drift a bit open. Let's bend the elbows for some gentle cactus arms. Taking a breath in. And as you breathe out, maybe closing the palms or even the forearms over your body. For the breath in, open the arms. And for the breath out, bringing them back together. You can choose to continue like this or lift your upper body as you tuck your elbows towards the tummy. Lying back while you open your cactus arms on the in-breath, and either closing or even lifting on your out-breath. Let's do another 3. And then coming to lie back down, cactus arms or arms loosely extended. Allowing the knees to gently roll a little from side to side. And perhaps starting to gently roll the head. Keep the head heavy. Just let it roll. Similarly, relax to the knees. You might find that you've chosen to roll with the knees. That's the head. You might have found out you're moving against the knees, and just let it flow. Then find your steadiness in the center and get ready for a shavasana or relaxation. You can use anything to prop up your knees. You might use the blanket while you've got it as a thin cushion. You might use your blocks instead underneath the knees, which might be useful. As you set yourself up for relaxation, the knees, of course, can be bent, and especially if your lower back is a bit tender today, that might be a good idea to come into constructive rest instead of shavasana, where feet are wide and knees are falling in. No matter the choice of your posture, I suggest to let the arms fall away from the body, palms facing upward, and maybe even attempting Kartari Mudra if you enjoy it. Last 2 fingers folding in and thumb on top. Perhaps letting yourself arrive in a reclined position. Tuning back in if you've chosen to hold the mudra in your hands. Perhaps reflecting on the practice. Your own ability to keep the practice focus within. If the mind does decide to wander, don't be surprised. It's just what it does. Notice and bring it back in. This might be the sensations of your hands in the mudra or your breath. When you think about the mudra you might be holding here, it is a scissor-like shape that the two extended fingers are building. And that isn't just for show. It's a powerful symbol. Think about what scissors do. They cut. In the same way, this mudra is all about cutting through the mental clutter, helping you break free from unnecessary thoughts and finding clarity. So you might enjoy focusing on reduction of thoughts and perhaps clearing a space that you hold. You could do that very actively, as perhaps there are thoughts that are reoccurring that kind of bother you in a sense. Identify them as thoughts and declutter by cutting the thought out, deciding to leave it for now. No attention needed. Trusting that important thoughts do return, but now they don't matter. Now you can cut that thought out. Do so with all the thoughts that arise, identifying them for what they are, thoughts. If you enjoy this practice of thought identification, you might as well continue. If you find you would like to return more to this moment, you could change your focus and perhaps slightly deepen your breath. With each exhalation then, become heavier and even heavier, releasing your weight to the supporting floor. While inhaling, let yourself be filled with lightness and light. While exhaling, let go of everything heavy and dark within you. So breathe in light and lightness and let go of the heaviness. A few more slightly deeper breaths, just doing that. Breathing in light and lightness, releasing darkness and heaviness. Now let go of all your thoughts. Perhaps put a gentle smile on your lips. Seeing this smile as a shining light coming from you as you filled yourself up with light. Starting to move the body gently, perhaps adding a stretch. And in your own time, coming to a seated position, whether you roll to your side or you use the sitting up method from the beginning, up to you. When you find to your seated posture, you might join the palms of the hands in Anjali Mudra in front of your heart. The thumbs might lightly touch the sternum. Drawing your spine up long, we will conclude our practice with one chant of Om, a universal sound, followed by 3 shantis for peace. Let's start together as we breathe in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Maybe the smile comes back on your face, keeping the lightness in the heart as we gently bow to extend to each other. Namaste.